Change does not begin with motivation. It begins with a decision that refuses to wait. Right now, in this very moment, there is a quiet line between who you have been and who you are willing to become. Most people feel it, but ignore it. They delay, they promise tomorrow. They wait for better timing, more confidence, or clearer signs. That waiting keeps them exactly where they are. Real transformation begins the instant you stop negotiating with your excuses and choose a new standard for yourself. Becoming unrecognizable in 7 days does not mean becoming perfect. It means becoming disciplined enough to act differently even when comfort pulls you back. The mind must accept one clear truth before anything changes. The old version of you cannot create a new life. If the same habits stay, the same results return. If the same reactions continue, the same frustrations repeat. Change starts when you decide that the old patterns no longer deserve your loyalty. The first shift happens. It happens when you wake up and no longer allow the day to decide who you are going to be. You decide first. You decide how you will speak. You decide how you will respond. You decide what behavior is no longer acceptable. This decision may feel uncomfortable because comfort is tied to familiarity, not progress. Growth always feels unfamiliar at the start. That discomfort is not a warning sign. It is confirmation that change has begun. Many people misunderstand transformation. They believe it requires dramatic moves or perfect planning. In reality, change starts with one firm decision followed by immediate action. Waiting for motivation keeps people stuck. Action creates motivation. When you decide that change starts now, you remove the option to delay. You stop asking yourself how you feel and start acting based on what you value. Feelings come and go. Decisions backed by action. The most powerful moment of the day is the first one where you choose discipline over habit. It may be choosing to get out of bed without checking your phone. It may be choosing silence instead of complaint. It may be choosing focus instead of distraction. These moments feel small, but they carry weight because they teach your mind a new lesson. They teach it that you are in control. Each time you follow through, confidence grows quietly. Confidence is built through proof, not positive thinking. When change starts right now, the inner conversation shifts. Instead of saying, maybe later, the mind hears now. Instead of saying, this is hard, the mind hears, do it anyway. These words may never be spoken out loud, but they shape behavior. Every choice sends a message to your identity. When you act like a disciplined person, even briefly, you reinforce that identity. Identity changes before results appear. 7 days may seem short, but focused intensity can create visible change quickly. Not because life suddenly becomes easy, but because clarity removes wasted energy. When you decide that this week matters, distractions lose their power, time feels more valuable, actions become more intentional. You stop scrolling aimlessly. You stop reacting emotionally. You start paying attention to what you allow into your mind. This decision also means taking responsibility without excuses. No blaming circumstances, no blaming people. Responsibility does not mean guilt. It means ownership. Ownership gives power. The moment you fully accept that your actions shape your outcomes, your behavior begins to align with your goals. Discipline becomes a choice instead of a punishment. There will be moments in these 7 days where the old habits try to return. That is normal. Habits resist change. The difference now is that you no longer negotiate. You notice the urge and choose differently. Each time you do, the new version of you becomes stronger. Change is not loud. It is consistent. Deciding that change starts right now also means letting go of the need for approval. People may not understand the sudden shift. They may question it. They may joke about it. That does not matter. Growth often happens quietly, but before it becomes visible. You are not changing to impress anyone. You are changing to respect. By the end of 7 days, the world may still look the same, but you will not. Your posture will be different. Your focus will be sharper. Your reactions will be calmer. Your confidence will feel earned. This is what becoming unrecognizable truly means. Not a performance, not an image, a new standard lived consistently. Change always begins with one clear decision. Not tomorrow, not next week. Right now. The next level of change happens when daily standards are no longer flexible. Most lives do not fall apart because of big mistakes. They slowly drift because standards stay too low for too long. What you allow every day becomes who you are. If the standards are weak, the results will always be weak, no matter how strong the dreams sound in your head. Real improvement begins the moment you raise the minimum level of behavior you are willing to accept from yourself. Resetting daily standards immediately does not mean doing everything perfectly. It means deciding what behavior is no longer allowed to continue. It means drawing a clear line and refusing to step back across it. Many people aim high, but live low. They talk about success, but keep the same routines that created frustration. Standards fix that gap. They force behavior to match intention. The first standard to reset is how you start the day. Mornings decide the direction of everything that follows. If the day begins rushed, distracted, or careless, that energy spreads into every decision. When you raise the standard of how the day begins, the rest of the day becomes easier to control. Waking up when the alarm goes off is not about the clock. It is about self-respect. Each time you keep that promise to yourself, trust grows internally. Another standard that must change is how you handle discomfort. Growth always brings discomfort, but most people lower their standards the moment things feel hard. They slow down. They delay. They escape into distraction. High standards mean staying steady even when the body or mind wants relief. Discipline is not harsh. It is protective. It protects your future from the weakness of the moment. Daily standards also apply to how you speak to yourself. Internal language shapes emotional strength. If the inner voice is full of excuses, doubt, or blame, action becomes heavy. Raising standards means refusing to entertain thoughts that weaken focus. This does not require positive talk. It requires honest talk. Statements like this is uncomfortable but necessary. Keep the mind grounded and forward moving. Another important reset is how time is used. Time is spent whether it is respected or wasted. High standards mean being aware of where attention goes. Mindless scrolling, endless complaining, and constant reacting drain energy without building anything. When standards rise, time gains value. Small blocks of focused effort become non-negotiable. Even short periods of disciplined work, done daily, produce visible change quickly. Standards also apply to emotional reactions. Life will test patience. People will disappoint. Situations will feel unfair. Low standards react emotionally and lose control. High standards pause, observe, and respond intentionally. Emotional discipline is not silence. It is control. It is choosing actions that serve long-term growth instead of short-term relief. Resetting standards does not require waiting for confidence. Confidence comes later. At first, it feels uncomfortable because the mind is adjusting to a higher expectation. That discomfort fades as consistency builds. Soon, what once felt difficult becomes normal. This is how identity shifts. You stop trying to change and start living differently. Another area that needs immediate adjustment is personal boundaries. Standards define what behavior you tolerate from others and yourself. Saying yes to everything drains focus. Saying no protects energy. Strong boundaries create space for growth. They reduce unnecessary stress and improve clarity. When boundaries are weak, discipline collapses under pressure. Daily standards also include physical care. Energy depends on how the body is treated. Poor sleep, Careless eating and inactivity weaken focus and emotional control. Raising standards in these areas does not require extremes. It requires consistency. Small improvements, repeated daily, quickly change how you feel and perform. One of the most powerful effects of higher standards is momentum. When you keep small promises to yourself, momentum builds. That momentum creates pride. Pride strengthens discipline. Discipline creates results. Results reinforce belief. This cycle does not start with motivation. It starts with standards. Many people wait for the perfect moment to raise their standards. That moment never arrives. The correct moment is always now. Resetting standards immediately sends a clear message to the mind. The message is that comfort no longer leads and excuses no longer decide. That message changes behavior faster than any external pressure. By the end of a few days, these new standards begin to feel natural. You move with more intention. You react less. You focus more. People may notice the difference before you do. Calm confidence replaces urgency. Discipline replaces chaos. This is how rapid change happens. Not through force, but through clear, firm standards lived daily. Becoming unrecognizable is not about impressing others. It is about meeting a higher version of yourself and refusing to fall below that level again. Reset the standards, live by them daily, and the results will follow whether you feel ready or not. Every serious change in thinking begins with removal. Before a stronger mind can be built, the weak patterns must be taken out. This is where most people struggle, not because change is impossible, but because they underestimate the power of daily habits. A single habit repeated every day shapes the direction of a life. A weak habit repeated quietly becomes a strong chain over time. The mind follows patterns, and those patterns decide results. Training the mind before 2026 means becoming honest about what needs to stop, not someday, not next month, but now. Bad habits do not arrive loudly. They enter softly. They come disguised as comfort, routine, or harmless behavior. They show up in small daily choices that feel unimportant in the moment. Skipping reflection, wasting time without purpose, speaking carelessly, reacting without thinking, delaying what should be done. These actions seem small, but they stack up. The mind becomes used to disorder, and once that happens, discipline feels uncomfortable. The truth is simple. What the mind practices, it becomes good at. If the mind practices excuses, it grows skilled at avoiding responsibility. If the mind practices focus, it becomes calm and clear. Eliminating one bad habit each day is not about punishment. It is about direction. The mind needs signals. When a bad habit is removed, the mind receives a clear message that control has returned. Confidence grows from small acts of self-control, not from big speeches or emotional promises. Every time a weak habit is stopped, the mind learns that change is possible. That lesson is powerful. It creates momentum. Momentum changes behavior. Behavior changes identity. Most people wait for motivation to eliminate bad habits. That approach always fails. Motivation fades, discipline stays. The decision to remove one habit daily must be calm and deliberate. No drama, no announcement. Just a clear choice followed by action. The mind responds best to consistency, not intensity. One habit removed today builds strength. Another removed tomorrow builds belief. Over time, the mind begins to expect improvement. A trained mind does not tolerate confusion. It does not accept disorder as normal. It seeks clarity because clarity feels better than chaos. When a bad habit remains, it creates mental noise. That noise drains energy. Energy is limited. When energy is wasted, focus disappears. When focus disappears, goals feel distant. Removing bad habits restores energy. That energy turns into attention. Attention creates progress. Many people try to add good habits without removing bad ones. That creates conflict. The mind cannot move forward while being pulled backward. One bad habit can cancel the effect of several good ones. That is why elimination comes first. When distraction is removed, focus improves naturally. When negative self-talk stops, confidence rises without effort. When delay ends, action becomes easier. Improvement often feels effortless once resistance is gone. Training the mind before 2026 requires seriousness. This is not a game. Time is moving, whether attention is paid or not. Every day trains the mind in some direction. Doing nothing is still training. Allowing bad habits to continue teaches the mind that comfort is more important than growth. That lesson becomes expensive over time. Discipline today costs effort. Regret later costs far more. The process of removing one habit each day also develops awareness. Awareness is the beginning of control. Now, the mind must observe itself without judgment, not with anger, not with shame, just with honesty. When awareness improves, choices improve. When choices improve, results follow. This is not complicated. It is simple, but simple does not mean easy. It requires consistency. Some habits are mental, not physical. Complaining quietly, doubting ability, expecting less, dwelling on past mistakes. These habits shape thinking more than actions ever could. Removing a mental habit requires attention. The mind must be redirected gently. The mind must be redirected gently but firmly. When a negative pattern appears, it must be stopped and replaced with a better one. Over time, the new pattern becomes familiar. Familiar thinking feels natural. That is how the mind is trained. A strong mind respects time. Wasting time weakens thinking. Time lost cannot be recovered. Each bad habit consumes time directly or indirectly. Removing habits that waste time restores control over life. That control builds confidence. Confidence strengthens decision-making. Strong decisions shape the future. There will be resistance. The mind protects familiar patterns, even harmful ones. Discomfort will appear when a habit is challenged. That discomfort is not danger, it is growth. Growth always feels uncomfortable at first. Avoiding discomfort leads to stagnation. Facing discomfort builds strength. Strength creates freedom. Removing one bad habit each day also sharpens self-respect. Self-respect grows when actions align with values. Each small victory reinforces identity. The mind begins to see itself as disciplined, capable, and reliable. That identity influences future choices automatically. Identity is more powerful than willpower. When the mind believes in who it is becoming, behavior follows naturally. Training the mind before 2026 is about preparing for responsibility. A stronger future requires a stronger inner structure. Habits are the foundation of that structure. Weak habits create weak outcomes. Strong habits create strong results. The process is fair. It responds to effort. It rewards consistency. No one needs permission to improve. No one needs approval to change habits. The work happens privately. Quiet improvement is powerful. Results speak louder than explanations. A disciplined mind does not argue with itself. It decides and acts. That simplicity creates peace. Every day presents a choice. Continue a habit that limits growth, or remove it and gain strength. The decision made today shapes tomorrow. Tomorrow shapes the year. The year shapes the future. This is how lives change, not in dramatic moments, but in quiet daily discipline. Eliminating one bad habit each day is not about perfection. It is about progress. Progress compounds. Small improvements repeated daily create massive change over time. The mind becomes clearer. Focus becomes sharper. Confidence becomes stable. life begins to feel more controlled. A trained mind does not panic about the future. It prepares for it. Preparation reduces fear. Fear disappears when action replaces hesitation. Action builds trust in oneself. Trust creates calm. Calm improves thinking. Improved thinking leads to better results. This is how the mind is trained. One habit removed, one day completed, one step forward. Repeated until discipline becomes natural and improvement becomes expected. By the time 2026 arrives, the mind will not be hoping for change. It will already be living it. Morning is the most honest part of the day. Before the noise begins, before demands show up, before other people start pulling on your time, the morning reveals who is in control. A powerful life always begins with a disciplined morning, not a rushed one, not a distracted one, a deliberate one. Adding one powerful discipline every morning is not about doing many things. It is about doing one thing well every single day without debate. Most people wake up and immediately give their attention away. They reach for devices, scroll without direction, or jump into worries that do not require action yet. That single habit quietly trains the mind to react instead of lead. The mind becomes scattered before the day even starts. When the morning lacks structure, the rest of the day follows the same pattern. That is not bad luck. That is conditioning. A powerful discipline in the morning acts like a reset. It tells the mind that the day has direction. The body responds to routine. The mind responds to order. When one disciplined action is repeated every morning, the mind begins to expect structure. Expectation shapes behavior. This discipline does not need to be complicated. Complexity creates resistance. Simplicity creates consistency. The goal is not to impress anyone. The goal is to build control. Control over attention. Control over energy. Control over emotion. A disciplined morning strengthens all three. When the same disciplined action is done every morning, the mind stops negotiating. Negotiation is where discipline dies. The moment the mind starts asking whether to do something, the habit weakens. Repetition removes debate. After enough repetition, the discipline feels natural. Natural actions require less effort. Less effort makes consistency easier. A strong morning discipline also builds confidence quietly. Confidence does not come from words. It comes from keeping promises made to yourself. Every morning discipline is a promise. When it is kept, self-trust grows. When self-trust grows, decisions become easier. When decisions are easier, progress speeds up. Many people try to change their lives by changing their environment. That helps, but it is limited. The most powerful change happens internally. A morning discipline changes the inner environment before the outer world interferes. It strengthens focus before distraction arrives. It builds calm before stress appears. That preparation matters. Adding one discipline every morning also trains patience. Results may not appear immediately. That is normal. Discipline works quietly at first. The mind becomes sharper. Emotional reactions become slower. Focus lasts longer. These changes are subtle, but they compound. Over time, the difference becomes obvious. A disciplined morning also protects energy. Energy is wasted when mornings are chaotic. Chaos drains attention. Attention is expensive. When attention is scattered early, the day feels heavy. When attention is protected, the day feels manageable. That difference changes how challenges are handled. The discipline chosen must be intentional. It should serve clarity, strength, or awareness. Something that grounds the mind instead of stimulating it. Something that centers attention instead of scattering it. When the discipline supports mental order, everything else improves. The morning discipline becomes an anchor. No matter how unpredictable the day becomes, that anchor provides stability. Stability improves emotional control. Emotional control improves communication. Better communication improves relationships. One disciplined habit can influence many areas of life. This is not about waking up earlier just to say you did. Time alone does not create discipline. Intention does. A shorter, focused morning discipline done consistently is more powerful than a long routine done occasionally. Consistency builds trust within the mind. Trust removes resistance. Some mornings will feel heavy. Motivation will be low. That is expected. Discipline is not built on feeling good. It is built on commitment. Commitment remains even when emotion fluctuates. Each time discipline is maintained despite low motivation, the mind becomes stronger. Strength accumulates. A powerful morning discipline also creates momentum. One completed action often leads to another, not by force, but by flow. When the mind starts the day with a win, it seeks more wins. That changes the tone of the day. The mind becomes proactive. The discipline should remain the same for a long period. Constantly changing routines resets progress. Repetition creates depth. Depth creates mastery. Mastery creates confidence. Confidence creates leadership over your own life. Training the mind before 2026 requires seriousness about mornings. The future is shaped early each day. Waiting until later to become disciplined is a mistake. Later is already influenced by earlier behavior. Control the morning, and the rest of the day becomes easier to manage. A disciplined morning also reduces stress. Stress often comes from feeling behind. A focused start reduces that feeling. Even small progress early in the day changes perception. Perception influences emotion. Emotion influences action. Action influences results. This daily discipline also teaches respect for time. Time treated with care returns value. Time treated casually disappears. A disciplined morning honors time. That respect carries into the rest of the day. Over time, the mind begins to identify as disciplined. Identity is powerful. When the mind sees itself as disciplined, it acts accordingly. This reduces the need for effort. Behavior aligns with identity. No one sees this work at first. That is fine. Quiet discipline produces loud results later. The goal is not recognition. The goal is transformation. Transformation begins with daily structure. Adding one powerful discipline every morning is a decision to lead yourself before leading anything else. It is a declaration that the day will not control you. You will control the day. That decision, repeated daily, builds a life that feels intentional, focused, and strong. This is how inner order is built. One morning at a time, one disciplined action repeated without excuse. Over time, the mind becomes calm, clear, and confident. And that version of you handles life very differently. Consistency is the bridge between intention and transformation. Every day you commit to improvement builds momentum, but without follow-through, even the strongest motivation fades. The principle of consistency is simple, yet so few embrace it fully. A single day of effort is not enough to create meaningful change. So each 7 days, repeated without excuses, creates a pattern that begins to shape habits, thoughts, and actions. When you commit to consistency, you are building more than routine. You are building character, resilience, and the foundation for long-term success. It starts with a decision. No matter how you feel, no matter the circumstances, you will do what must be done every day for 7 consecutive days. The first element in staying consistent is clarity. You need to know exactly what you are committing to. Define the action, the habit, or the discipline you will follow for 7 days. Vague intentions do not produce results. The mind needs clear instructions, and your day needs structure. Once you know what you must do, you eliminate uncertainty and hesitation. Uncertainty is the enemy of consistency because it gives your mind a reason to postpone, doubt, or avoid. With clarity, your actions become deliberate and purposeful. rather than reactive and scattered. Accountability reinforces consistency. When you hold yourself responsible, the act of following through becomes more meaningful. Each day, review what you have done and note what could be improved. Do not allow excuses to creep in. There will be days when energy is low, distractions are high, or external pressures threaten to derail you. These are the moments that define pushing through, even when it feels difficult, is what separates those who achieve from those who merely dream. 7 consecutive days of commitment is a training ground for resilience because the mind learns that dedication is non-negotiable. Environment plays a crucial role in maintaining consistency. Surround yourself with conditions that support the action you are committed to. Remove distractions that compete for your attention and ensure the tools, space, and resources you need are readily available. A consistent environment reduces friction, making it easier to repeat the action daily. The more seamless the process, the more likely you are to maintain it without hesitation. Every detail counts when forming a 7-day habit that sticks. Self-discipline is exercised and strengthened through daily repetition. Motivation fluctuates, and if you rely solely on it, consistency will fail. The moment motivation dips is the moment excuses appear. Discipline is the stabilizing force that carries you forward when feelings and energy levels waver. The act of committing to 7 days without excuses is itself a practice in mental toughness. Every time you follow through, you train your mind to resist the temptation to delay, justify, or avoid. The brain begins to recognize that certain actions are not optional. They are part of who you are becoming. It is important to manage expectations during this process. 7 days will not completely transform every aspect of your life, but it will prove your ability to follow through. Each day builds on the last, creating momentum that continues beyond the 7th day. Tout, this is how small, deliberate efforts compound over time. Consistency is not about immediate results. It is about creating conditions where results are inevitable. Each day you act, you are reinforcing the belief that you can follow through, and this belief is far more powerful than any single outcome. Tracking progress, a visual record of daily completion, whether in a journal, checklist, or digital app, reinforces accountability and motivation. Seeing 7 days completed without interruption provides a psychological boost, confirming that commitment is possible. The mind responds to evidence. When you see that you have not missed a single day, it becomes easier to continue. Each day reinforces your ability to manage yourself, control your behavior, and stay focused on what matters. Excuses are the silent enemy of consistency. Life will always present reasons not to act: tiredness, interruptions, doubt, or external pressures. If you allow one excuse, it becomes easier to justify another. Consistency requires a refusal to negotiate with excuses. Each time you overcome the impulse to delay or avoid, you are strengthening your mental and emotional resilience. You are proving to yourself that discipline and commitment are stronger than temporary discomfort or fleeting doubt. 7 days without excuses is a concentrated lesson in self-mastery. Consistency also trains patience and trust in the process. Change is rarely immediate. When you focus on completing each day with integrity rather than rushing for results, you develop confidence in your ability to maintain effort over time. This confidence transfers to all areas of life. You begin to see that commitment is not dependent on circumstances, but on personal choice. By controlling what you can control, your actions, your effort, and your follow-through, you gain power over outcomes indirectly. 7 days of consistent action becomes a template for months and years of effective, intentional living. Reflection at the end of each day strengthens consistency. Take time to review what was done, how it felt, and what could be improved. This reflection ensures that actions are deliberate rather than mindless repetition. Reflection builds insight, which informs future effort. Each day becomes an opportunity not only to act, but to learn about yourself, your habits, and your potential. Over 7 days, these small insights accumulate, providing clarity on how to sustain progress beyond this initial period. The value of consistency extends beyond habits. It shapes character. When you follow through consistently, you develop reliability, focus, and mental toughness. These qualities do not fade when the 7 days end. They become part of your identity. You begin to see yourself as someone who follows through, who acts with intention, and who is not swayed by excuses or temporary challenges. Identity drives behavior. Once consistency becomes part of who you are, long-term change becomes inevitable. 7 days without excuses is both a challenge and a promise. It challenges your comfort, patience, and self-discipline. It promises the beginning of transformation, momentum, and personal growth. This is the concentrated period where the mind learns that daily action is non-negotiable. This principle, applied repeatedly, creates habits that compound into extraordinary results. The act of maintaining consistency is itself the most reliable predictor of progress, achievement, and the realization of potential. Ultimately, staying consistent for 7 days without excuses is not about perfection, it is about commitment, perseverance, and self-trust. Each day completed reinforces the belief that you are capable, disciplined, and responsible for your own growth. You are training the mind to act deliberately, the body to follow through, and the spirit to embrace challenge without complaint. This foundation, built 1 day at a time, carries forward into every aspect of life. 7 days becomes a starting point, a demonstration of what is possible when action is deliberate, daily, and free from excuses. By the 7th day, you will recognize the power of consistent action. You will see the cumulative effect of small, deliberate efforts and experience firsthand the mental clarity, resilience, and confidence that arises from following through. This is not the end of transformation, it is the beginning. Consistency is the soil in which all growth is planted. Without it, even the strongest intention cannot take root. But with it, change becomes inevitable, progress becomes measurable, and your life becomes increasingly aligned with the goals you have set. Every day is an opportunity to practice consistency. Every day is an opportunity to strengthen self-discipline, resist excuses, and demonstrate reliability. 7 days of deliberate action is a concentrated test of character, focus, and commitment. Meeting this challenge builds not only habits, but also belief in your capacity to shape your life. Consistency teaches that true transformation is not instantaneous. It is daily, deliberate, and unrelenting. Master this, and every future challenge becomes an opportunity rather than an obstacle. The commitment to 7 days without excuses is a declaration of personal responsibility. You are stating to yourself and to the world that your growth, your results, and your future are dependent on your actions. This realization is liberating because it shifts power back into your hands. External circumstances may be unpredictable, but your daily actions, repeated with integrity, are fully within your control. Master this principle, and the path to transformation is clear, achievable, and unstoppable. By the end of these 7 days, you will realize that change does not wait for permission. It responds to action. Every habit you replace, every discipline you add, every thought you control compounds into a stronger, sharper, more focused version of yourself. You will look in the mirror and see someone unrecognizable, not because the world changed, but because you chose to transform. Carry this momentum forward, keep the consistency, and remember that the power to shape your life has always been in your hands. This is only the beginning of the person you were always meant to become.